Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 5 swing tips for you. I think we're always looking for a little tip that might just help our game, so I thought I'd present you kind of 5 not so common tips. Some of them you'll have heard of before, some of them you haven't. Get out on the range and give them a try. Tip number 1 is quite a simple one, but one which is overlooked. I know as growing up as a child, they always used to talk about how Jack Nicklaus used to hold his club above the ground before he took the club back, which would actually allow him to get some tension in his muscles and actually feel the weight of the club. And this is exactly what tip number 1 is. I would like you to take your address position and then, similarly as I was saying last time about putting, just get enough pressure in the grip so that the club is just slightly off the ground. So you're actually gripping down, gripping hard on it, and the actual grip pressure will lift the club slightly off the ground. And once you've got it off the ground, the rest should go by itself. Tip number 1, a little bit more grip pressure. Don't pick it up from a standing lie. Tip number 2 is all about basically staying centered over the golf ball. But it's very difficult to know whether you are. For this tip, you're better off getting a camera or getting your mobile set up opposite yourself and filming yourself when you make the backswing. What I want you to do is at the top of the backswing, I want you to have the feeling that there's a straight line built from your trail armpit to your trail ankle, and that you aren't getting into this position. A lot of people are kind of leaving their hips or rotating their hips and getting their shoulders over and moving out of the axis. And I want you to try and get the feeling that at the top of your backswing, you're actually crunching the lead side and stretching the trail side. So the feeling is that is a completely straight line from the ground to your armpit at the top of your swing. This will help you to stay over the ball, stay centered on the ball, and it will help you to get your weight centered before you start your downswing. Tip number 2, a straight right side, if you're a right-handed golfer, of course. Tip number 3 is a bit more technical, and it's probably more a feeling than an actual move. But tip number 3 is you start your downswing, I want you to have the feeling that your lead shoulder goes down before it comes up. A lot of golfers I see are actually coming straight up with their lead shoulder at the start of the downswing. They've learned to pull the club down, get behind it, come from the inside, and what's actually happening is their lead shoulder is coming up far too early. And this will have a massive effect on not only the plane that the club comes down on, but how easy it is for you to swing through the golf ball. Often this kind of pushing up of the lead shoulder will cause an early extension. Your hips and your legs will come forward towards the golf ball, leaving you absolutely no room to swing through the golf ball. So what I'm really saying here is at the top of your golf swing, as you start the downswing, obviously it's starting with your legs, but have the feeling that your lead hip and your lead shoulder stay a little bit lower to begin and don't come up until the shoulders have actually reached kind of parallel to the target line. And then the feeling is that the lead shoulder really kind of pulls back behind your body. This will help you to cover the ball longer and get more pressure on the golf ball at impact. Tip number 5 kind of follows on from tip number 4 follows on from tip number 3. And here I'm just going to use an alignment stick with a club. And as I make the swings, I want the feeling of the alignment stick coming around without slapping me on my side. I don't know if you can see that very well from either of the cameras. Maybe from this direction it's simpler. But you can see by getting the arms and shoulders to come around and the club to move around my body, I can keep this stick away from my side. And that actually is helping me to keep pressure on the handle. And the longer I can keep pressure on the handle, the easier it's going to be for me to control the club face. I wouldn't necessarily recommend you making full swings with this, but it will certainly give you a feeling for the club continuing on this swing around the body, and it will allow you, as I say, to keep more pressure on the club for longer in the downswing, and that way you'll keep more control over the club face. The final tip is all about power and, to a certain extent, control. I said a lot of times that you should be using the ground to accelerate your golf swing, but you can't underestimate how important it is that your legs actually help you to actually get the hips out of the way as you follow through. Your arms are never going to wait for your body, therefore your body has got to go in advance of your legs in the downswing, and that means that as you start your downswing, you want to have this feeling of turning and jumping out of the ground. Now I know intuitively all of you are going to say, well, if I jump out of the ground, my head's going to come up, but it really isn't. If you have got a spine angle, you have weight at the top of your spine, of your head and your shoulders, and as your legs straighten, your shoulders will actually dip down and your head with them. If you watch the majority of top golfers, although their legs are straightening through impact, their head is actually going down towards the ground. And this is something you want to try and work on. The straightening of the leg and the arms and their shoulder coming down. You should, if you were to get to this position, be able to reach your trail knee. Of course, this will take some practice. In truth, but if you practice it enough, it might just work. 5 simple tips. If you like them, hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Thanks again to all of my patrons. If you would like to become a patron, please click the link below. Until the next time.